Greetings, my friend. We are all interested in the future, for that is where you and I are going to spend the rest of our lives. And remember, my friend, future events such as these will affect you in the future.
It's about 2.5 hours, 3 hours, depending on how fast you're driving stuff.
Yeah.
Down there anyway, so it's like
Fair
just get
enough.
on a plane, just go.
Yeah.
Pretty water in your home state.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Good beaches there too.
Mhm.
Hello.
Hello,
Hey.
Mr.
We're
Producer. Oh,
All right.
sweet.
Also turn the AC on because it's getting a little hot.
All right.
Texas.
It is Texas.
Well, I can kick us off. Welcome to the New Arc Podcast. I guess the place where we discuss the collision of entertainment and technology, robotics and AI. This evening we are talking with Nate Strayer, who is a writer, director, producer, founder and CEO of Stray Vista Studios down the road in Dripping Springs, Texas, and husband. As of
Newly, yeah.
yes,
Congratulations, buddy.
Yeah, thank you,
as
man.
of last month. So yes, congratulations. But anyway, but yeah. So Nate specializes, I suppose, is that way to phrase it, in virtual production.
Yeah. Well, it's
amongst many other things, but
yeah.
but
It's the main revenue driver of my business, I would say. And
okay.
yeah, we love it. It's a good tool. And as you guys know, with tech and entertainment, there's just so many cool ways to find new ways of doing things for the ancient goal, which is to tell a good story. So
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, I mean, Nate, you want to fill us in? Tell us a little bit your background. What brought you to Texas?
yeah, man. Yeah, happy to be here. So I'm originally from Michigan. Grew up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I guess I will say always was kind of interested in some form of video storytelling. My dad came home when I was in like 4th grade with a little camcorder with DV tapes, and I was just recording everything from that day on. Would
Mhm.
record like family vacations. Eventually, when like GoPros came out, would record like surfing and other things that I was into at the time. And so when the time came after I graduated high school to pick what I wanted to do, I was like, well, if I can just keep doing this, I want to keep doing this. So I went to film school primarily with the goal of kind of becoming like a travel photographer, videographer type thing. Was really into surfing at the time, so went down to Florida, started surfing, and then doing film school, and then started to realize a lot of the people around me, a lot of the alumni of the school weren't doing things like that. They were actually on these big movie sets, and I never even thought of that, just because coming from Michigan, you don't meet people who made Captain America or Iron Man or whatever. You meet, at most somebody who's created a cool viral YouTube video. So then my mind kind of started shifting. Well, what do I actually really like about this is the story aspect. Is if there is a route into movies, is that something I would want to do? And I decided yes, pretty quickly. So long story short, with college, I ended up dropping out when I wasn't quite sure about that. Took some time, found out I am definitely sure about that. Went back, found my crew that I still work with today. Many of those guys are either have been or are full-time employees at Stray, and moved out to LA with them. COVID happens. So that was like 4 months after I got there, and I had just been getting my footing in directing out in LA, mostly music videos and commercials and things. And then COVID happens, so I grab a couple of those friends and I'm like, hey, I've got, my family has this property up in Michigan on a lake where they had a couple cabins that they would rent out for the summer. And so I was like, COVID's going on. There's nothing else to do. What if we went up there and just started writing something and shot it? So for like zero money, we shot a feature in 45 days that we were writing the night before, shooting that day, and then editing that scene that we just shot that night to make sure it worked. And it's a COVID movie made for no money with a bunch of friends, but it did end up selling. at the time. The movie's called Outlier. It's on Tubi. And so that kind of kickstarted my ability to walk into a room and say, hey, I'm a writer director. I have a feature film. And then, long story short, moved down to Austin, was writing full time at the time. And one of the guys I was writing for pitched me this opportunity to use one of the buildings he had as a studio. And I didn't end up working with him, but that got me to do all the business development and market research to see if that would be a viable option here in Austin. And I decided that if I could do virtual production, it's definitely a viable option. And so I ended up pitching and raising a little bit of money and getting financing rather to start Stray Vista. And then the rest is kind of history. We've been operating now for 3.5, almost 4 years. We've worked with some of the biggest brands, done Super Bowl commercials, worked on large TV shows for some of the big streamers. I've written and produced a short film with Matthew McConaughey and Dennis Quaid, and all that came out with just this big risk of taking on virtual production that kind of skyrocketed Stray Vista into this big Texas media industry which is how we met, kind of they're in the same goal of making Texas a larger player.
Yeah, we certainly dive into the True to Texas campaign here in a little bit, but yeah, I was trying to remember that the other day as well. Was it the Attorney General's office? Was that the first time we had met?
I know I met like Blake at NAB.
Really?
I think.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. I feel like we were in each other's orbit for a little bit before all of our worlds kind of came together.
Yeah, I think I did this. I think you guys were there. I did like a Super Bowl party grand opening, and I think you guys came out because we were introduced through Mindy or something.
Yeah,
and then
that might be it.
A couple months later, we met up at NAB, and then really became closer during the push for the incentives.
So was it COVID in particular that plopped you in the Austin area?
COVID got me out of LA, and then I just liked Austin. Once I was out of LA, and the reason I left is because I made the movie in Michigan. I kind of went back to do post-production, and then I did all the sales stuff over Zoom meetings to actually sell the film. So I was like, if I didn't shoot it here, I did post here, but I wasn't really here for any of it, and then I sold it digitally. Why do I need to live here? Because at the time, it just wasn't the best place to live. I think a lot of people would agree about that. So I was like, where do I want to live? And I looked at a couple different cities, in Austin, just as soon as I visited, I was like, okay, this is where I want to be.
Sure. Was that, I mean, obviously, I'm sure it's a combination of things, but personal, but on the professional front, was that, I mean, obviously the entertainment scene that it is, but also, we can talk about that, but also, even at that time, did you see any glimmer of overlap from the virtual production side of this being the next tech hotbed?
Well, I didn't move here knowing I was going to do virtual production or even a studio. I just moved here because I was writing.
Sure.
And one of the guys I was writing for happened to live here. But as soon as I started looking into it, I saw a huge opportunity in virtual production for just any market that didn't really have it at the scale that we wanted to bring it. Because of, again, we're coming off the end of COVID, right? So getting a permit to go shoot somewhere like a hospital was, at that time still, this is 2022, still pretty much impossible. And so I just saw it as a big solve to a lot of problems. And I think at the beginning, it was being plugged in as a solution to too many problems, and it was really probably only right for about 30% of them. But as we've grown and as the industry's grown, I think it's really found its place. It's solving the right problems now and doing it really well.
Yeah.
Could you go into detail, like, for the listeners, like, what is virtual production?
Yeah. So virtual production is a larger term, but the way that I'm using it would be for LED ICVFX, so in-camera VFX. So it's the ability to effectively shoot what you would normally be comping out and replacing later in real time using big LED screens and Unreal Engine or similar video game engines and motion tracked cameras. So instead of shooting on green, having a post-production VFX company track the shot and know where the camera is in the room, and then having CGI artists and teams comp that into the footage later. That's all happening in real time on set.
Fantastic. So like, what kind of doors does it open up for regular like film crews?
Yeah. Difficult. Well, I think it was created primarily, and Blake knows a lot about this too, but I would say The Mandalorian effectively was using it because they needed a lot of locations that didn't exist, and they needed to be able to place effectively a mirror inside of those. And so for locations that don't exist, the obvious answer is green screen.
Yep.
But then the mirror part, which is a character that's just wearing shiny metal, you really can't comp that. And so being able to get those natural reflections onto that suit was why they started using the LEDs. And then I think it just started solving a ton of different problems, like time of day. You only get the sunset for 20 minutes. Weather, obviously, you can't control it unless you're in a studio setting. Multiple locations in one day. I would say that that's probably the most useful case for like commercial work, which is like if you've seen like the Capital One commercials where they're swiping their card in 30 different countries, that's all filmed in one day on one studio, and they're just minimal props swapping the backgrounds. So there's a ton of use cases. A lot of them have been heard before, and it's fun because we're coming up with new ones every day.
Absolutely. So like lower on the initial cost, and then you have to travel to a bunch of locations. It's lower on the production, on the cost, and
I think
post-production. I
think in like 2019, 2020, cost was really like the word everyone was using to talk about it. I would say now because it can be cheaper, it also can be more expensive. It's just, is this the right tool to use to solve the problem?
Okay, yeah. So more about capability.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a deadline. We need to do all this stuff.
Right.
This is when we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and you do really see, I think, people that are not taking advantage of the cost savings of a space like this, or people that just don't fundamentally understand the strengths of it, of being able to turn around sets so quickly. You know, if you take somebody who has been shooting in a traditional stage for decades, you put them in one of these new stages, and they just try to use it the same old way, they're going to run into the same problems. And you're like, why is this costing me more?
Right.
But if you're really looking at it from a logistical perspective, you know, I have all these sets that I need to turn over. If you can put in the time and do the planning beforehand, because like to me, that's what got me really interested in virtual productions, because it really flipped the whole, we'll do pre-production, we'll do production, and then we'll figure out a bunch of stuff later. But now, in a lot of ways, because it's all in camera, you have to make creative decisions intentionally beforehand. And just in my mind, I think that's like the biggest value add of just, we're no longer just filling space with random detail. We're actually putting intention and thought preemptively into all the details you see in the background, how we're going to shoot this stuff. Yeah.
And a lot of times, like on a big studio blockbuster that would be doing a lot of comping later with green screen CGI and stuff, the director, by the time the CGI artists are getting their hands on it, is working on a different project. And so the majority of the frame isn't even being touched by the guy who had the original vision, guy or girl who had the original vision. And virtual production, they're on set looking at the frame and being able to say, you know, have complete control of that frame that day, instead of, you know, even if they are involved in post, it's like, what was I thinking that day? And, you know, does this make sense? It's all happening right there. Like Blake said, hopefully in pre-production, but at the very least in production.
Yeah, it's so cool.
And talent as well. They've got something to work with as opposed to
they know what's
looking
going
at a
on.
tennis ball or whatever the case may be.
So cool.
Well, and that, I mean, we know some of the guys that were with the Megalopolis with Coppola, and just kind of how that went down. Are you seeing maturation of the tech? Are people finally getting the hang of it and seeing how to utilize it?
100%. I think, like I said, I think it was being plugged into too many problems that it probably wasn't the answer for. It's like trying to hammer a screw. You know what I mean? Like use the right tool for the right problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I think now, and I'll put it this way, as a service company, and because we own the stage, we have a really good insight into that. Like, what was this trying to be and what is it now? Because at the beginning, it was like they would hand us a script and be like, they would either say, we want to shoot this whole thing virtually, or they would say, can you tell us from this whole script what would be good to shoot in your stage? And now people are coming to us with specific pages of that script saying, we've already decided this is what we're going to do virtually. And we love helping them figure it out, especially if it's somebody's first time. We love getting that script and figuring it out. But when we have like a repeat client, typically by like the third or fourth time, they know what the tool is going to be used for and why it makes the most sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what tech wise, what's been hitting the scene? I guess maybe just specifically on the virtual production side. Is there anything new there? That I'd be
Yeah,
ignorant to.
yeah. I think there's things like Gaussian splats that are really interesting, which is the ability to get an actual location into an engine for real time. We're using AI for quick turn plate work as well, like Gen AI. We just recently did a big commercial for a car repair type company, big nationwide commercial, and they needed to be in like 50 different locations showing that they can replace a part of a car, no matter where you are, because they're all over the country. And so for that, it's like for 50 different locations, we're not going to create 50 different Unreal Engine environments. We created a couple for like the hero shots where there's big sweep around moves and things like that. But for the majority, for 45 of them, we use Gen AI. And it's a process. It's not just, ChatGPT, I need this. The director has a vision of exactly what they want it to look like. So it's combining a bunch of different AI tools. But that's a cool way to not have to go send a unit around the country with a camera and go capture all these plates, and just be able to create them kind of at the whatever speed you're able to think.
Yeah, well, certainly the individual use cases, and if you got it rolled off to depth of field and just let it fall off, then you don't have to worry too much. But
right,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's cool too. Just even if some of the Mandalorian stuff, especially in season 1, later seasons it was less so, but they were still comping the background. But it's a much easier comp when what you're putting behind it is pretty much identical to what you actually shot. And so even things like AI roto is a lot easier to do if you're using a volume than if it's green, because there's that leak isn't there.
And you can even just put my rendered shot without the subject straight from the engine.
Yeah.
Overlay the in-camera effect and, massage it a little bit and really just let's have this algorithm look at, okay, what is actually different, and then generating your alpha mask that way is gets you from 0 to like 95 really, really quick.
Yeah. And again, if you plan well, like you were talking about pre-production early, you can record all your camera data. You can have each take in straight from the engine and straight from your camera. So there's just lots of cool ways to utilize it's just so much data, right? And it's so precise. And so having access to all that, again, if you're prepared for it, to ask us to record it all, we definitely can.
That's cool. Okay. For the non-technical person in the room in this arena, what is alpha mask? It sounds so cool.
So an alpha mask is basically, it's a black and white video where how bright a pixel is represents a level of transparency. So
gotcha.
Black is 0, white is 100, and so an alpha mask is just a very weird looking, it almost looks kind of like an infrared like video sort of, but essentially it's just using data in the form of a video to influence how your software is going to process a different piece of video. So like if you put somebody on a green screen and you you will typically the traditional way of doing it is you make an alpha matte by removing the green, and what's left is your white mask, and then that what is white is informing your keying software what should be left in and what should be taken out.
Right on, yeah.
And one of the, at least for Mando season 1, that was still Rec 709, so they weren't doing HDR or anything like that. So much far more narrow bandwidth there.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, what about on the hardware side, tracking and all that? Any advancements there?
From when we started, yeah, and there's a debate on which one's better. I went from one to the other, but there's basically 2 ways to do it with your camera tracking software. And now there's kind of 3 ways. I'll talk about the third because it's kind of newer. But the first 2 ways are inside out or outside in. Inside out means that there's one tracking camera, and it's looking at multiple reference dots or whatever it might be. And that tracking camera would sit on top of your camera, and it's looking out at the stage at what we used to have is infrared stickers that are all over the ceiling. It memorizes that constellation and the size of each sticker. So it knows based on where it is in that constellation and how, X, Y, and all the axes, it knows where it is in the room. My preferred way of doing it is outside in. It's more expensive because instead of one camera looking at a bunch of cheap dots, it's like 25 cameras looking at one cheap dot. So that's what we're using now is OptiTrack. And I say cheap dot, even the puck is not a cheap dot. It's a square that has a bunch of different infrared dots that are flashing at different speeds. So even if the cameras that are all around the studio can only see one dot, it knows by the frequency of the flashing which dot it is and can make a better guess at how the camera's oriented.
And this is like pitch, yaw, roll,
all of it. Yeah. Well, that I think there's just a gimbal inside it for things. It just works so well.
Okay. Nice.
But then the newer way to do it is you're actually placing a camera that's kind of creating a Gaussian splat of the room, and you're placing that on your camera. So there's no reference dots. Because the problem with reference dots is on a film set, you've got like flags and huge 12 by 12 bounces and all these things that can cover up the dots. So what this new way of doing things is that camera would instead be creating basically a 3D scene, and just from knowing where in the room it is, it would know. But that's kind of experimental at this point.
Yeah. When did that come out? I'm just curious.
I heard about it like a month ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they're using the same thing for
robotics, I'm sure.
For robotics, for just geospatial coordination.
Yeah.
So, this is cool. I feel like both the entertainment industry and also the robotics are like right there in the same like trenches right now.
And my understanding of that technology is a lot of it was really fleshed out when Meta's VR goggles started doing it.
Probably. That would make sense. Yeah. I like the outside in has been around since motion capture became a thing, because it's the same idea as all these cameras around the room and you got dots on your actor as references. But even that is getting so good you don't need to wear motion capture suits anymore, or at the very least you don't need all the cameras. Just the footage. You can start replacing characters with CG characters because AI is getting so good at understanding the movement. The hardest part is the feet. They slide around on the ground. But if it's like a cowboy shot, if it's from the knees up, without any motion capture hardware, just using AI and maybe a couple reference dots on the actor, you can pretty much convincingly do motion capture type work, replacing characters with CG characters now, which is a huge advancement in like the last 3 years.
That's pretty cool. Just 3 years.
As far as I know, we have a motion capture studio inside our studio, but it's through our partner, House of Moves, and he's been really excited about all this stuff. So what I know is through him.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Well, what I suppose the layman, if they caught your work, I would assume Chris Williamson's podcast.
Yeah,
That'd be the
probably the one that, yeah, if I show people, they're like, oh my gosh, you did that,
Mhm.
would be the McConaughey interview with Chris Williamson,
Yeah.
where we took Chris really kind of, I would say, pioneered really cinematic looking podcasts before him. They were getting better, obviously, with better cameras and in studios and stuff, rather than just being audio only. But he was like, I want to take this to a new level and shoot with 16 red cameras and, just the crazy setup that he has. So he came to us, it was probably 2 years ago now, to do 3 guests in a row. It was like Tim Ferriss, Peter Attia, and Healthy Gamer. And we just put them in kind of nondescript, cool locations using the volume. And then he came back and he was like, I got Matthew booked. I want to do something really special for him. It was like the anniversary of the movie Interstellar. And so we decided to build the cornfield and house from the first half of the movie Interstellar, and Cooper's house. And the cool thing too was we wanted it, or Chris wanted it to be a surprise for him. So we needed to kind of come up with something that he would see when he walked in that wasn't that. And so one of the suggestions I had, just having read Green Lights, is that he loves Airstreams, and he traveled around Australia in an Airstream. So like, what if we bring in a real Airstream and just build an Australian desert and make the ground seamless between being Australian desert and like Dust Bowl cornfield? So when he walks in, it's like an Australian desert, and he's got his Airstream there, and he starts talking about, I traveled all around the world, or all around Australia in my Airstream. And then Chris, says, to honor the anniversary of Interstellar, we wanted to bring you back somewhere cool. And my tech guy, Zach, who built both the scenes, by the way, did a really smooth transition, and all of a sudden they're sitting in Interstellar. And the coolest thing about that was, like you said earlier, one of the benefits of virtual production is that your actors are not looking at a massive green wall and fatiguing their eyes with trying to get in their minds with trying to guess what's around them. This was a good example of that. Even though it wasn't for a movie, the second we flipped the screen, which to the camera looked real, it looked like they were actually sitting there, but obviously they were in a studio. But to Matthew, it also felt real. Yeah. Because he's pointing at the screen and he's like, oh man, this is the road that I was driving down, or Cooper was driving down, his character. All these corn stalks were actually planted by Christopher Nolan. Like, he starts telling a story about the setting we put him in, which I think is a really powerful way to add depth to a podcast. Is like, the setting you're in is a conversation driver, not just something to look pretty.
Yeah. I don't know. People should certainly go check that out. There's a lot of BTS stuff floating out there on that for sure.
Yeah.
But that was cool. You talking about how you even faked Matthew.
Yeah.
This really was going to be kind of my segue into you bringing in real props.
Yes.
Blending the virtual with the real is what we're all about here. But no, I think you honestly kind of hit it. But I don't know, Joe. Do you got anything on that point? I guess maybe before I kind of move on, maybe. But
yeah, well, I think we've always talked about virtual production, or blending virtual production in with robotic experiences. It was not until the scene where it switches, and Matthew actually takes a few seconds and looks around, and he looks backwards, and it's like, I don't know. It was like, I felt like he really was there,
Yeah.
And I was like, that is incredibly important. And the transition's important there, transporting him there. But like, he was already in a space where the physical, like the Airstream and the ground, gave a sense of realism there. It grounds the person. I just think that's incredibly important.
Yeah.
And I had researched virtual production. I had never seen it before until we had talked, but I watched that video beforehand, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a game changer for any kind of like immersive environment in the future. And I'm like, that's what it kind of like got just impassioned about, how we're going to get robots into like these kind of experiences.
100%.
Yeah.
I think the physical is so important to it, because it's So anybody who's like upset about virtual production because it's not real filmmaking or whatever, it's like, do you think The Wizard of Oz was real filmmaking? Because that was all in a stage, and instead of a interactive 3D background, it was a painting. This is the same exact idea, except for now we're able to create that art that's going where the painting would have been in a computer, and it's 3D and it's more convincing. But it's still the same thing. You have to build your set. Back then, they wouldn't just throw up a matte painting, put a character in front of it, and be like, look, it looks like they're there. You build your set, and the matte painting extends it. And if you're doing it right, you're not even really looking at the matte painting or the virtual production. You're looking at what the director wants your eyes to be looking at. It's good blocking. So to your point, it's got to be a mix of both virtual and practical, or else it's just, it doesn't sell.
Yeah. Well, in those scenarios, I mean, it was a combination of you either can't move the camera as well,
Yeah,
or it's a gargantuan stage that they got to have that depth.
yeah.
But which the Wizard of Oz had that, but
And asbestos.
And before we go off that, I haven't seen Odyssey yet, so don't spoil it. But one of the big draws for me is like reading about how much the design of the real like fight scenes and real things that they chose to do outside of like CGI.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's an artistic choice. That is something that they did. I'm actually really interested because they spent the time to try to do this, at least what they thought was convincing, right? Or like artistic.
Yeah.
And that's where I think like the right blending of these technologies in art, it's about art.
Yeah.
It's not about doing it his way, her way. It's how does the art come out? Did you choose to do it the way?
You know what I think is the best example is the Odyssey was great, but it leaned so heavy practically. They didn't use much. I mean, they did in some small ways, but like Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy, like the original 3, that's like to me the perfect blend of let's make sure we do enough or even more than most people would do that's real, so that the whole thing feels grounded.
Yes.
But then it also has characters like Davy Jones, which are complete CGI.
Yep.
And so like those 3 movies still blow my mind. I think whatever was going on at Disney during that time, it was like the perfect use of technology with good storytelling, and it created, to me, like and Lord of the Rings was very similar as well. It's just 2 of the best trilogies ever because they used the tools available in a way that they should have been used.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to say it.
Yeah.
Use the right tools for the right thing.
Yeah.
To get the product you want.
Yeah. Pirates certainly is. It's the reigning champ for CGI and all that.
So good. But so much happened practically too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like that scene where the Kraken, its tentacles like come and crush that boat. They actually had like massive steel pillars come down and crush a real boat, and then all they did was just replace the pillars with the tentacles. Like a lot of that stuff looks real because it was. They're just adding a fantastical element to it.
Yeah, for sure. And I love the ability. There's the right blending of getting the physics right, getting this other stuff right, but it's also you need to have a little bit of movie magic to transport that person to another world.
Yeah.
And I think that's where that, if you use it for the right thing to transport that person, like I've never seen a tentacle that big.
Yeah.
Right. But the physics of the crash.
The parts that you don't even think about, but your brain recognizes as real or fake.
Yeah.
Those need to be right.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of that has to do with understanding the tools that you're working with, kind of what you said earlier, Nate, about, once you work with a particular client a few times, they start coming in knowing I want this scene to be virtual, and they're already thinking about how to use it. And, I think a lot of that applies with like AI as well, where like Kane Parsons, the director of Backrooms. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but
haven't seen it.
He has a really great one-liner about it's like there's a lot of like AI generation where there's no real intention. It's just generation for the sake of generation. And in terms of like world building and building trust with your audience to actually like immerse them in the experience and tell the story, I think it really comes down to that idea of putting intention into what you're trying to show your audience, right?
Yeah. A good example that we've done, we just wrapped this in June. We were filming a TV show. We were producing it, and we didn't even use the studio for principal photography because we were going to. We tried to, would it fit? Would it not? We ended up finding a location that just had everything we needed, so we went and we shot the whole thing on location. But then, like a week after, we always need to do reshoots, and when we were on location, because we know our tech, we were like, let's capture plates of every single location. So instead of having to go back, rebuild all the sets, make it look like it looked on the shooting day, we have those plates. We did all our reshoots in the studio. So while the actual show was filmed practically on location, we still knew that we had this tool that we could keep in our back pocket for this instance, it was for cutting costs, but also just making it easier for scheduling and I mean, all that eventually cuts costs anyway. But yeah, using the tool where it was needed rather than trying to shoehorn the whole show there is just, it's great for reshoots for this particular show.
Right on. Were you doing Gaussian spots at the time, or were you doing like more photogrammetry, or?
No, for this one, it was just video plates.
Video plates, okay.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Cool.
Sweet.
Yeah.
With the things we've talked about in the past, your passion for theme parks and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's certainly transitioning into again aspects of what we're pointing to in a lot of this. But what do you see the next general iteration? Obviously, we're heavy on robotics, and I don't know if you want to talk a little bit what you see from that transition from virtual production in so many ways. It's a lot of the same tech. It's a lot of the same stuff that's happening behind the scenes. But I don't know, just from your perspective, what are your thoughts on?
Yeah, I think it can be used in so many cool places. Even just pieces of the tech, whether it's robots or motion tracking or LEDs or whatever. But like, I just think about a couple of cool experiences I've seen. Number one, if you guys have been to Epcot, that space elevator restaurant where you go into like this elevator and it's screens all around you and it looks like you're going up into space. Then the elevator door opens and they've got this huge 360 glass wall where you can see you're in Earth's orbit. It's so sick. And like, I think in 5 years that will be so much more convincing, and or even now it could be more convincing. But it's just it's a sweet idea, and you could put a bar or a restaurant where one week when you go to the bar you're drinking on a pirate ship, the next week you're drinking in ancient Rome or something. I don't know, stuff like that's cool. We talked about a idea for a maybe I don't want to give this away, but for a lazy river where it's like there's a story going on with different robots that you're kind of traveling through time. Broadway, I went and saw the Gatsby production on Broadway, and they have this massive LED screen in the back where so much of the story is taking place when they're driving. It doesn't look like they're driving there on stage, but it really immerses you into, okay, this is what's happening. Yeah, man, I think there's so many cool ways to take these, again, I think I call them the ancient goal of telling a good story, and just do it in a way that becomes more and more immersive using all these different technologies, whether that's for a restaurant, a ride, or, some mix of video game / experience / play / movie, whatever it might be. And that's what's been really fun talking to you guys about over the past year and a half.
Yeah.
They're the drive in you, like like the deep philosophical bent of just because that's just what we're made to do as humans, physically interact in that stuff. Is that anything that's propelling you, or just because you see that's the way things are going, or what's thoughts? You see as it being just the natural next step?
Yeah, I think so. I would like to try to keep as many elements of like experiences, like theme park stuff, as things that I feel like I could go touch. Like, I think Universal kind of, for the first half of its existence, kind of went the wrong direction. They were like, everything needs to be a screen and you put on 3D goggles. But now it's getting like Epic Universe, that new Harry Potter ride, is like all these awesome animatronics, and the what's the one in the Dark Universe one, the Frankenstein ride. I think they're going the right direction now. And so I think that there's like, yes, there's a natural there's always a push between like innovation and business is like, how do we make things cheaper? And usually the way to do that is make things less physical, more digital.
Yep.
But I think that there's got to be a good balance there. And so
Yeah. Well,
hopefully the natural progression is we've figured out that people want tangible things in conjunction. It's the same thing we've been talking about this whole time. Practical plus digital. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that Mario Land is
so cool.
It's
overwhelming.
Yeah. Just the haptic experience that it is. Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Very overwhelming, but I mean they do it well.
Yeah.
And they incorporate screens into things.
It's sick. And then even the How to Train Your Dragon show was awesome too. And you're looking at the walls when you go in. Did you see that show?
I did not. Broke down on me.
Dude, well, it's a play. It's like a performance. But you go into the room and you sit down and you're looking at the walls and they just look like wood and steel beams. And then throughout the show, they just start changing and you're like, oh my gosh, the entire room is LEDs. And they do it so well. They use it so well. So stuff like that's cool. When you don't, it's not calling attention to itself. I think that's what's important.
The subtlety.
Yeah.
The world building.
Yeah.
Just to immerse you back to the human engagement. That being the important part.
Yeah. With anything we shoot, it's like we've at some level failed if you can tell that it's fake. And so hopefully every day we get better at making it look more real.
Yeah. Well, this is certainly, we've transitioned more into your neck of the woods as far as the hardware, the tech, where that stuff's going. I don't know. What you thinking about all this?
I mean, it's absolutely fascinating. I think what I go into gets really excited we haven't touched on is the screen's basically a video game. All the assets are individual assets. You can talk to the video game. You can have, if you wanted to have a button that, started your volcano in the background, that's totally doable. So that's where I get really excited on the immersive side with robotics, because what I've seen on what's not done right on robotics is the robot is the entire show. And you know what? Maybe eventually it'll be really cool. We'll have a good enough robot that it can tell a really good story. Maybe the Wi-Fi is just fixed by that time. But when you have a virtual set and maybe even some like different physical like interaction side with the robot, the depth gets like so much greater and the focus goes away from the robot into the whole world. And I think that connection is really, really important, because you can't, like, at least in the next couple of years, you won't be able to make the robot the whole show. The robot just another thing to tell the story. And maybe it draws you in, like tells you, hey, come over here, sit down here. I don't know if it's a restaurant. And it does something with a virtual screen later, but it's what's really cool is the robot now becomes a really amazing paintbrush for creatives. Yeah. Coupled with this virtual production. And that's where, RCP, robot control protocol, where the robot can actually, like, the way it, maybe it's a wizard and as the robot's engaging with the wand, things are happening back there. And it just, I don't know, I can't wait for creatives to get a hold of this.
It can be so sick. Yeah. Even, again, the How to Train Your Dragon show, they're like fighting an enemy that is all in the screen, but as he's swinging his axe, it's probably choreographed. It's not like real time knowing what's going on. When it gets to that point, and improvisation between the digital and the real can happen. That's going to be sick. But even now, just like the illusion of it is really impressive when it's pulled off.
Yeah. And I was just playing like cheap, quick, like Blender and connecting MCP. I can actually talk to Claude, have awesome. Blender change things in real time while I'm using different sensors, RCP, to control what I'm doing in there. I'm like, I just did this in an hour with no experience. And I'm like, this is wild. So that's where I think the robotic side, at least Corey and I have talked quite a bit, and I think we've had conversations. It allows you to have this, let's say it's a microphone, observer, cameras looking and engaging with you, but it allows you to become part of that story. And I think that it's a conduit to connect you into digital and physical and real. And that's where, I think people got excited about IoT. You can get your phone out, you can control your lights and everything. But you're still like plugged into another screen. You're still like, limited what you can do. Adding that whole layer of the robotic system as just another kind of remote control that's maybe a different character too. That's exciting. Really, really exciting. And I think you get it.
Yeah.
Too.
I 100% agree. I think, yeah, like even just, did you see the Pirates of the Caribbean backlash when they replaced one of the old animatronics with a
No.
That was wild.
So from my understanding,
Like 48 hours it was.
yeah, they replaced an animatronic which served the story perfectly.
Yeah.
With a projected face one where he like drinks something and then he turns into a skeleton, he goes dead or whatever.
Yeah.
And immediately they had to flip it back because it didn't serve the story. So as long as what we're talking about, and this is what's been so fun, is you're on the same page, is like everything that you just said is about how do we better tell the soul of this, and not just how do we make it cooler. Because that's objectively cooler what they did, but everybody was like, no, we want it the old way because it was already doing its job well, and it just didn't make sense. So I think that the cool part of your excitement in the entertainment realm as a robotics guy is that you get that part.
Yeah. It was a lot of pain and suffering in manufacturing actually that drove me into that.
Yeah.
Just like because everything, even the embodiment, even if you take it into a lab, the way it looks, the lights, the interaction, the user interface, it all tells a story.
Yeah.
And it was not until we started naming our robots in manufacturing.
I remember you telling me
Yeah, that was such a huge difference. And it was because people could tie thoughts and improvements and, likes and dislikes to a name,
Yeah.
It was about the people, not about the robot. And that got me into very interesting conversations with Corey about that.
Yeah. Well, some of this, listening to you guys talk, I know we've spent a lot of time focusing on what the robot can eventually do.
Yep.
And it's mind-boggling. But at least from our lingo of things, I think it's still, I've never expressed it this way before, but just the robot is still, it's a practical. It's just a prop.
Yeah.
It's still
Yes.
just a set piece. Now, sure, is it a moving, talking set piece that, could be, there's overlap with talent and things of that nature. Sure.
Yep.
But still, that importance, what you're talking about, it's all about the person.
Yes.
That's experiencing this. But yeah, the robot, yeah, it's practical. So that's anything that's in the camera shot, so to speak. So obviously movies have lights, but if you got a candle that's in the shot, that's practical. And so a robot can engage and do what it does, but it's nothing more than that, because it's what we are really connecting with is the human element.
Yes. Yep. Totally.
And I mean, have you guys seen the kind of 2.5D theatrical productions going on in Japan right now?
No.
It's basically kind of that idea with virtual production, but instead of a camera, the audience is on a they're in their seats, but the seating rotates, and so the stage it's 360 degrees around, and they're one cut of it.
Nice.
And so they're setting up different sets, and they're using virtual elements and LED walls. And then when it's time to transition to the stage, the lights dim, they turn 90 degrees, and then now they're working on that set of the stage to flip it for something else. And the actors have moved over, like physically, and so the stage is actually like, it's circular.
It's like the carousel of progress.
Yeah.
It's so sick.
But like, literally.
There's a great big.
They're making changes to that too, aren't
I
they?
know. I'm curious about that, but I didn't see that. Like, what's that? Where that's in Japan? You said?
They're doing it in a few different places in Asia, but like the really big one is I think it's called the IHI Theater. It's in Tokyo, but yeah, it's like a weird like they'll do a bunch of like anime adaptations for like theater plays.
Hmm.
But then they're doing like visual effects live, tracked onto the actors live and shown, or either sometimes it's projected, but it's usually LED screens mixed with like real sets, and they're running around and doing all these choreographed bits, and it's a very interesting kind of like, it's kind of like virtual production, but just without the camera. The audience is the
Sure.
camera, but
I love Japan, dude. They're always one step ahead with the tech.
Didn't you go over there
Yeah,
not too long ago?
yeah. I went. The Disney Sea was really cool.
Okay.
In both fronts, practically, it was some of like the coolest rides and sets I've ever seen built. Like there's a Tangled ride where you go into this room, and it's like if you guys have seen Tangled, when they let the lanterns go, it's like the most beautiful dark ride scene I've ever been in. And then just across the way, there's a Peter Pan ride that's like some of the coolest tech I've ever seen. So it's just, yeah, it's awesome.
That's super cool.
I used to throw jawbreakers in the Peter Pan ride when I was little. Just toss them.
Which one? The one in Florida?
In California.
Oh, nice. That's funny.
Uh,
I love all that stuff, man. Like, it's so impressive when something that old, like the Peter Pan ride, is still impressive.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like the miniatures, and you
Yeah.
feel like you're flying over it. The ET ride, and I could nerd out about rides for all day.
Wow.
I love the queue for the ET ride.
Mhm.
Have you guys done the ET ride in Universal?
No.
You're in like the redwood forest when you're in the queue, and then it's so sick. It's pretty much the Peter Pan ride, just ET.
Got the little umbrella there.
Spielberg
All
designed that though.
stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's amazing. I mean, that's it goes back to about the people, like
Yeah.
what people have done incredible jobs. Like, how do you enter this, and like what story am I telling? I go into the forest, and how is that going to make you feel? And so with the new technology happening and what we've been talking about, and with robotics and all this stuff, I can't wait to see what true creatives whose like real focus is immersing that person into new environments. And even in a restaurant, think about, as you go in there, like if you can transport the individual into a new place, that individual, especially with other people, can share that,
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the fun part about, I love movies, and in a theater it is more of a communal experience because you hear people's reactions to things, and afterwards you talk about it. But the cool thing about the parks is it's the same, you're getting the same ancient goal accomplished. You're having a story being told to you, but as it's happening, you can talk about it. And especially experiences that are like you're eating, you're drinking, and the experiences happen. That's like my favorite thing in the world.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you talk about bringing up ET, I don't have confirmation in front of me by any stretch, but I think that one's unique too, because that might be certainly one of, if not the first ride of its kind where it truly is personalized.
Yeah.
They had
it doesn't really work anymore, but
no,
yeah.
it's terrible. Yeah, we had these little. I think they were even sponsored by AT&T or something back in the day.
You like tell them your
passport.
name, and then at the end, the little ET animatronic is like Joel. And then it's like you tell him where you're from or something. He's like Joel from, I don't know. It's cool though.
Yeah, it's really cool.
But certainly a foundation.
Yeah,
I mean, like this was going somewhere.
Which is, I think the in this realm, AI can be used for so many things, good and bad. But in this realm, one of the coolest things it can be used for is like real-time personalization of these experiences or stories or whatever it might be.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've really talked, like Luis Sentes and a few other guests that we've had on here, is that you come to, let's call it the ET ride, and ET sees that you're scared and you're 5 years old over here, and the next year it's slightly different, but ET goes, I see that you got braver or something. That's all you. So it's that continuation of that your story within the story, which is just a really cool depth to to evolve with people.
Yeah.
And make these things. I mean, a lot of these like theme parks are pilgrimages people make, but we have ways to do that. Like, it's adapting to me over the years. So it's not even nostalgic, but it's also this ever growing thing.
Yeah, imagine it
Yeah.
remembers you from last time you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be
Yeah.
sick.
And maybe the environment changes slightly when you're walking in.
Yeah.
Always
changing.
Yeah.
There's so many cool things. And that side of things is so much fun, because even though you use the word pilgrimage, and for I think a lot of people it is, but having lived in Orlando and having had the season pass and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's an opportunity to kind of democratize these types of experiences and have them in every city,
Yes.
where it's like, this isn't something I go to once a year. Like, there's an experience that, or even like a dinner experience that I can just go to on a Friday night, because it's going to be a fun date night or something. And that's how it was when I lived there. But I think now the technology is going to allow it to be, you don't have to live in Orlando to be able to have an Epcot-esque experience on a Friday night. You can go do it somewhere like Austin or San Antonio or whatever it might be.
Agreed. Yeah.
Which would be sweet.
Some of those, I mean, those pop-up things that already occur. I mean, just was it last year here in Austin? They did the Nightmare Before Christmas came rolling into town. But yeah, it was a walkthrough experience. But yeah, they were just animatronic type things that were involved, but not to the degree that we're discussing here.
Mm-hmm.
So
and we're certainly touching on our pending tech demo and other things coming down the pike.
What do you get? We're talking about like personalization and in experiences, which I think is one thing. But what do you guys think of? And I have pretty strong opinions about it. But like personalization in cinema, like the ability to watch a movie about you, that people are saying AI would be able to do that.
I have opinions on this.
I've got massive opinions on this. I want to know yours first.
I think that cinema and just movies in general and how we know them and consume them today are very core to our culture. And we talked about earlier talking about the Odyssey. Joel, you haven't seen it yet, and some of us have, and just like that's something that we all gather around to talk about. If I'm getting personal generated content for me, it might be really cool for me, but I'm not connecting with anybody over it. If I start telling you about this really cool thing that my algorithm generated for me, it's kind of like when one of your friends starts telling you a story about this crazy dream they have, and everybody hates the story, and it's not fun for anyone.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that idea for cinema, simply because I think that the coolest thing about cinema, about movies, is that you are peering into someone else's life, and you are able to empathize with somebody you may have not been able to before, or you're able to at the very least observe a worldview, even if you don't empathize with it at all. Like one thing I loved about The Northman, which is I think interesting. I watched a video today on why the Odyssey is like a completely different way of telling a myth than the Northman was. If you're unfamiliar with the Northman, it's a Robert Eggers movie, and the character is dead set on revenge at the beginning. He's brutal, he's violent. His ethic is in his moral is completely off what a human beings would be today. But the myth is about that. And so there's zero redemption. He dies wanting revenge. It's brutal. It's very hard to connect with somebody who has zero empathy, is all about violence and just getting revenge.
Yep.
But it's a great movie to me because we're getting to peer into an idea of how somebody may think that is just completely foreign to us.
Yep.
And I think if you're personalizing everything, you're eventually just going to be in an echo chamber of like reaffirming what you already believe about the world, whereas like exposing yourself to realities that are different than yours.
Well, and it's what is the artist trying to tell me?
Yeah.
Not spoiling anything on the Odyssey, but like there's a very clear message that Christopher Nolan is trying to tell you, the audience, and I think that's what makes it interesting, right? Just with what you were just saying, it's like we're looking into something. I don't think an algorithm is going to be very successful at challenging you because it lacks that kind of human intuition of just be like, you know what, this is how I see the world. I want other people to see it this way. So I'm actually going to tell them a story and show them this idea that I have that I want to involve in this story, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
I think one of my good friends who would love this conversation is a big theme. I went to theme parks with him all the time, Jacob Fuller. He pointed out, I think rightfully, that people who grew up with video games have a false belief that they want to control the story that's being told to them and make decisions because video games make you feel that way. But in reality, a good video game makes you feel like you're doing that, but is telling you a story that the artists, the writers want to tell you. And so I think that there is a truth to, like, you know, the audience doesn't know what they want. They need to be told what they want. And right now the audience is saying, like, we want to make the decision. We want to have these different pathways of things. I think it's great for experiences because you're there and you actually are the main character. But when you're in the observation seat, I think you want to observe. And so it's quick tangent, but just curious what everyone's thoughts are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, that I think my mind went to episode of The Office, actually. Well, some aspects are just from the cinematic sense of even just people in your video game analogy. Most people aren't creative, but what made me think of The Office was when Dwight creates a second life.
Yeah,
and his
that's right.
his avatar is just a paper salesman as well.
Yeah.
But so, like, there's certain aspects of that it just wouldn't really work. But at the same time, where we're talking about interactive experiences of certain poking and prodding that these set pieces, again, practicals can direct certain things. But yeah, I'm right there with you and Blake from a cinematic standpoint. That'd just be really boring. I wouldn't want to watch that. It doesn't spark any interest in me.
You want heroes to look up to, and like in
that's the protagonist.
These Roman sculptures of like the perfect muscular body, right, is like not what every Roman looked like. The art wasn't reflecting the average person; it was reflecting an ideal.
Yeah.
And I think if you take everything and say like, well, what if instead of watching Tom Cruise, I'm watching myself? It's like, sure, you could, but like the point of watching Tom Cruise is you're watching this like epic man do these epic things, and now you have something to point to.
Who's actually hanging off of an
airplane.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever you have there's different dream states. There's dreams that you're active participant there, but there's dreams where you can actually kind of control your environment, and there's ways you can actually train that. I hate those dreams. They're so
the ones
boring.
that you can control.
The one you can control.
Interesting.
Lucid dreaming.
Lucid dreaming. I absolutely hate it, and it gets like super boring to me. I'm like, oh, this is not an adventure. This is just me like moving things around.
Yeah.
And I just, that's what I go back to, like, you know, a story that I have any creative or like any control over. Even knowing I'm going into it and I have like this much control, I don't know if it's not something I'm excited about.
Yeah. It's probably because you would never choose the hard things that create the fun moments. Yeah. Like being chased in a dream is not something I would choose, but it makes me wake up like that was an interesting dream. Yeah. Whereas if I had a choice in my dream, I would just be like eating chocolate cake and enjoying my life.
It's called bed rotting.
Yeah. I think we need to be told, or things need to happen to us that we can react to rather than us choosing what happens.
Well, that's the architect from the Matrix.
Yep. Yeah.
You got to have somebody create something for you to experience. That is really funny to hear you talk about the dream stuff.
Yeah.
There are people that struggle for years to actually do that, and you don't
like,
want to be able to.
Don't do it. It's a waste of your time. Miserable.
Joel's just astral projecting by accident.
Yeah.
Do you fly in those dreams?
I don't remember what I do. They're so boring. I don't remember any of them.
Dang. All of Joel's dreams are just him as Sisyphus, just
pushing a boulder.
There was this one dream that I like, a reoccurring dream I've always remembered, and I'm either climbing something. A lot of times it's a tree or a ladder to do something, and I fall down and I hit the ground, and immediately I'm floating in like let's call it like I'm weightless, right? And that's the main feeling. And it was yet terrifying, but yet like calm and peaceful. Maybe it's me like trying to like figure out death, but I hated it and loved that dream. I loved it because of the feeling I had afterwards, because you had this like, I physically jolt. Like,
Yeah.
you know, in my, you know, whatever my body, like haptics happened, like when I jolted in the bed, made it that much more real. But I just felt like that was just so real. I was not in control too. But like I had this reoccurring thing, and it just, I don't know, it was very peaceful because I knew where I was going to go no matter what. Like I remember like vividly, I was climbing a tree and there was a branch and it broke and I fell down on my head floating, you know, and the floating space, maybe some cloud space, whatever it was different every time. But it was the lack of control, but maybe just in like experiencing, you know, that scene. It was just, yeah, it was really good. And I was not in control of it.
Well, a lot of this conversation reminds me of things that I've talked about at length with like people who are really into tabletop RPGs, like D&D. Because like in theory, you're all sitting around, you're doing this kind of improv, acting, role playing. The campaigns that usually fail are the ones that have no guardrails. There is no structure. You're just kind of set in this road like, all right, what do you want to do? And there's really no guide in one direction or the other. But the good ones are the ones that have, this is the story that we're trying to tell. If we get off track, we'll work our way back. But it's, you know, I think people, especially in interactive circumstances, like having a box to play in, because otherwise, if it's too great, you know, kind of like with the dream thing, is like, if I can do anything like you know, it kind of hard to like pick a direction to go. You know, it's like we want to fight something, we want to go on a journey. That's why story is so like ingrained in us, right? It's like, you know, give me the sandbox to play in. But if it's an infinite sandbox, like, okay, well, like, where are stakes, you know? And it just reminds me of the phrase of limitation breeds innovation. And I think that leaks into story as well.
Dude, I was teaching my then girlfriend, now wife, Minecraft, and we were playing a couple hours a week or whatever, a couple nights a week. And she was like, well, what do we do? And I was like, well, typically the first thing you would do is build a house. So we spend probably 2 months of just a night here and there building this awesome house. And the whole time she's like, I can't wait till it's done. I can't wait till it's done. Once it was done, we never got back on again, because it's like there was no goal. There was nothing, like you said, there was no limitation of like, here's what the story is of what we're doing. It was like, what do we do next? I'm like, well, we could do this or that. Nah, we did what we came here to do. And so like when you set that or when that limitation is set on you, I think it's very helpful to be able to.
There's a lot of dopamine when you check something off. You know, I've completed the goal. What's next?
Right.
Yeah. Have you guys ever watched Star Trek Next Generation? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. I got it.
I've seen the original one, not Next.
Okay. What I love about that show, it's actually not so much about aliens or exploring space. It's about experiencing human culture through creative storytelling. Like you go to this planet and there's weird aliens, but you explore gender roles in that, because maybe all the aliens are both male and female. So you get to the reflection at the end of the thing is you're like, oh, okay, I could, because you pulled me into this weird like mind loop over here and I explored it on an alien planet. I could actually go away from my culture and what my parents taught me and everything like that in order to reevaluate that you know, pretty solid like cultural thing no matter where you are. So like that's where I think like also like any like self-directed like cinema, you lose out the ability to be transported to another story. You need creative storytellers
100%
for that, and cool props.
100%.
Or practicals. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's kind of the most important job of the modern day filmmaker, especially when like visual effects are involved, is like can you make me suspend disbelief? And if you can, I'm bought in and I'm along for the ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, like if everyone got their way with the Odyssey, with all the talk around it, like this camp wants it to be more historically accurate. This camp wants it to be more diverse. This camp wants it to be less diverse. This camp wants it to be to tell this moral story. This one wants it to tell this moral story. Just let the artist tell what they want to tell, and then you walk away with it with your opinion. And I'm hoping to circle this back to the reason I asked the question. I'm hoping as AI becomes a thing, entertainment still allows artists to lead the charge of what's being of what's entertaining the masses, rather than everyone just kind of having their own, like, I'm entertaining myself type situation, because it's so much more interesting when you can watch someone's interpretation of the world clash in some places, agree in other places, even within one worldview. Like, as a Christian, it's interesting to watch other Christians take on Bible stories. I'm like, I don't know if I would have taken it that way, but it's just, I'm glad it exists, because it makes me ask questions and like firm up my beliefs, even if I disagree with it. Now I know why, and I can explain that.
Yeah.
And so I hope AI is used as a tool the right way, which is to allow artists to tell their stories, rather than trying to somehow make everyone an artist of their own stories, which I like that it enables them to tell their stories. But the fear is then everything's so saturated and you're only watching your own stuff.
I had one of my all-time favorite mentors of all time, like Mike Gardner. He got a master's degree in electrical engineering. He got a theologian degree. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Just fascinating guy. And then we had a conversation of, how do you talk about religion to other people and what you believe? And he shocked me, because I came from a very like sheltered background. You're like, here's a Bible track,
Yeah.
or like Jesus loves you. And he was like, well, most conversations about Jesus, it starts with Breaking Bad. Yeah. And it was just it's this story that everyone can, or like the people who he was talking with can be like, oh, you know what? Like, if you're doing life this way, you're living it this way, these are the results you get. And like, but it was just, I think stories are so important for us to culturally be able to have those conversations that are difficult when we just come to the table with our past experiences. We need to actually both be like, oh, here's a new experience. Let's talk about that, because that had a storyteller and a creative put it together, so we can talk about that, how I agree or disagree. But we're not talking about my beliefs. We're not talking about your beliefs. We're talking about this story, and that's magic.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
And like my whole opinion on the like whole gripe about the Odyssey not being historically accurate enough is like, when has historical accuracy been fun, right? Like, if you're trying to make something as entertainment, like, is historical accuracy inherently fun? I mean, maybe if you're watching a historical documentary, sure, but
I get my jollies from Master and Commander.
I know. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't disagree, but I push back, because like Apocalypto, like the whole goal was to be, but even that, he takes a ton of creative liberties. But the complaints against the Odyssey were like what they were wearing, the way that they're talking, and like in that aspect, Mel like nailed the historical accuracy. And that's another example of like a movie that doesn't apologize for how people back then seemed to have thought. And didn't try to shoehorn our morals and ethics into an ancient, brutal culture's morals and ethics. So in that sense, I think it was a like really cool thing to be historical accurate. But reality is simply not a 3-act structure. So to that point, I agree with you.
Well, and if you really want to be true to the original telling of the Odyssey, the only real way to watch it is in an amphitheater.
That's true.
Was the Cyclops, was it historically accurate? Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad.
They got that part
Looks
right.
like all the ones I've seen. So
All right, perfect.
yeah.
Oh,
It was a good movie though. I enjoyed it. You guys all saw it except for Joel?
Yeah, Friday.
You haven't seen it either?
Indoctrinated.
I did not think I was gonna like it, but it scored about 2 points higher than I thought I was gonna score it.
Nice.
On a what is the scale we're talking about
10.
here? 10. Oh, okay, that's a significant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have so many. I won't talk about any of my thoughts because these two need to see it. But
Okay.
I thought it was really an interesting next movie after Oppenheimer
Yeah,
for many reasons.
I mean,
Oh, I
it
hadn't
in
heard
many
that.
ways is a spiritual sequel.
It's a prequel.
Oh.
It's certainly a prequel to,
Yeah.
or yeah, it's a sequel. But
Well,
I agree. That was the first thing I thought when the credits rolled. I was like, man,
a
this is-
spiritual sequel in the sense of aggravating me because it breaks in the theaters.
oh
Yeah.
no,
Did we talk about that?
no.
Yeah, some of us, we went to San Antonio to see Oppenheimer on the 70 mil. Yeah, it breaks the projector.
Technology.
But it broke for Blake even. He
Yeah,
went to Dolby
Yeah,
or for
Dang.
Odyssey.
yeah.
Dang.
It broke twice.
Yeah.
What does broke mean?
The playback stopped working. They had to like fully reset the projector. It took like 10 minutes to warm up, and we're just sitting there.
Wow.
So I
doing
did the
nothing.
same thing. I went to San Antonio, and I think my movie started an hour late. And they were like, "You guys can either go home and get a refund, or you can wait and see if we fix it." And they did, thankfully. But
That's crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
they need to make more of those 70mm projectors if Nolan's going to keep using them.
I was gonna say this is a complete departure from anything, but yeah, curious your thoughts on that. I mean, certainly from a post-production standpoint, Blake can testify to this, but I'm always just give me the biggest negative possible. I want
Yeah.
raw. Yeah, but man, I've almost come full circle on this, especially my two anecdotal experiences. But I'm also just when 99% of the world can't see what Nolan's vision was, I don't understand the point.
Change change the television's aspect ratio is what I say. 16:9 is the worst option.
Nah.
4:3 is better. 240 is better. IMAX is better. I don't know why 16:9 became the standard.
Give me anamorphic. I'll take that. 239. Yep. I'll take that.
Getting nerdy, but yeah, I don't like the shape of TVs. I think it's the worst.
Well, but that has been a funny that's been a big thing.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of social media outcry where people are wanting. I mean, IMAX isn't exactly 4:3, but there've been a lot of people clamoring for that.
Yeah.
Good grief.
It's a great frame.
But especially where today we got 80-inch screens. Like you're not putting that box in your room. That'd take up this whole freaking wall. But,
the issue now is that we're doing a lot of verticals at the studio.
Oh.
And I don't know. It's not my favorite format. You know what verticals are, Joel?
I have no idea.
It's content
do.
that's specifically shot to be watched like this.
Oh, that hurts me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Joel's passionate about that.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
filled him in on a lot of that.
Yeah. So I think if I boil down to all of this passion that has happened on screen ratio, it's like human beings have eyes that are horizontal.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not Cyclops. So like looking at screens on your phone, they're not like naturally like reinforcing being human.
Right.
It's basically just shoving.
And the fact that they're making entire movies and shows as a poster is dumb.
Well, to play devil's
Painful.
advocate here, can you imagine only being able to use your phone in landscape mode?
Fair enough, but I don't want to watch content on my
That's
phone
true, yeah.
anyway.
Mhm.
As Nolan intended.
I do often on planes and things.
Maybe
but
that was the big IMAX play. Is Nolan's doing a sleeper release of Odyssey for vertical?
that's exactly what he's doing. 100%.
Mm.
My big thing is like if you're gonna shoot it in these formats, at least give me an option to watch it digitally, right? Like
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I'm
there
saying.
are IMAX versions of Dune 1 that I will never be able to see again because like it's a format that has no
Yep.
no physical release or digital release. We'll probably never see it again.
Yeah, why do we accept the black bars for 239, 240, but we can't accept them for IMAX? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I'd be perfectly happy with that. If they released it in that form factor, if you got black bars on the sides of your TV at home, that's acceptable.
Yeah. Well, you're from the broadcast
it's
world,
going
so
to be
you
a
like
s-
16:9, don't
It's
you?
going to be a smaller world. I am anamorphic.
I do
But
like 69.
I'm not a fan.
You know.
it was just a
Well,
compromise between them both.
my
There's no
main
rhyme or
monitor
reason.
is an ultra wide, so it's 21:9. So it should be the perfect, anamorphic width. But then I'll find an anamorphic YouTube video, but it's just a 16:9 video with black
I know.
bars, and so it's just really tiny on my screen. It's like, come on, man, just
I know.
like at least like if you're gonna give me some ultra wide content, give it to me in ultra
And
wide.
YouTube lets you too.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
What is anamorphic in this sense?
Anamorphic is a type of lens and format where it's effectively the raw file is like squeezed and then you stretch it out.
Mm-hmm.
There's much better ways to explain this, but it's a really the anamorphic lenses have a really interesting way of handling focus.
Mm-hmm.
So like out of focus lights, instead of being like a big circle, they'll be more like lines. The bokeh is really it's
Very, very oval shaped instead of circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how
Okay.
you get lens flares, and also it has all sorts of interesting characteristics for sure. But
It's
yes,
like-
it's basically it distorts the light coming in to expose the negative, and then when you're projecting it or going into post, you can it's re-squeeze or de-squeeze. How you always
Yeah.
get confused with the terminology of all that, but
She's like a creative choice.
if you look in the lens,
it gives you more.
it's an oval
So like
Mm.
instead of a circle.
imagine
Okay.
your 16:9 screen, and imagine if you stretched it to be wider,
Mm-hmm.
and just imagining the like glass that would have to be shaped kind of like in a weird like semicircle way to like spread the light out.
Mm-hmm.
The entire image would be wide and it would look weird. But if you had the inverse of that lens
Mm-hmm.
on your camera and made the content look squished to the right amount, if you put it on screen and you stretch it out the correct amount, it'll look normal how you would normally view it. But the weird physics and how like it just lets you get this much wider perspective. And it's kind of an invention by the studios and theaters back in the day when they wanted to like, you go from 4:3 to 16:9, and then you just keep getting wider and wider and wider. And it was kind of this like weird like one-upsmanship of like, well, our screen is wider, so like, and
Vista.
yeah.
It's like, you ever seen like a deflated balloon that has text on it?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you
Mhm.
inflate it, it looks normal, but deflated, it's
Yep.
all squished.
Right.
It's that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just allows you to catch more onto the negative.
So basically, we just change the way we mechanically or digitally capture it in order to
Yeah,
optimize for the end product.
optically.
Yeah,
Optical.
but it leaves you with really cool, very unique looking footage that
Okay.
is I can't think of a movie right now that off the top of my head. I think
Well,
wasn't like
in-
Wolf of Wall Street anamorphic.
a lot of them are.
I'm sure.
But so much of it too is just we've been conditioned to associate the anamorphic look with
Cinema.
cinematic quality,
Mhm.
and that's kind of why people look at it and be like, oh wow, this looks like a movie. Versus if you shoot with a regular camera with a non-anamorphic
Yeah.
or non-anamorphic lens, it kind of looks a little less cinema.
Okay.
We do have a feature guest that he's big time into optics. He can explain all this for you. And
All right.
Better than
an
me.
engineered mind.
All right,
Engineer
fantastic.
mind.
Yeah, save that for him.
Okay.
I'll just talk about theme parks.
Theme parks. Yeah. Well,
All right, favorite
Yeah.
ride, go.
Of all time, favorite ride. Well, you've got a couple different categories here. Favorite like thrill ride is Velocicoaster.
Mm,
Um,
a lot of 0G in that. I like it.
favorite like dark ride, Mr. Toad. I love Mr.
Oh.
Toad.
Did that scare you straight?
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the Carousel of Progress as like a show too. I'm nervous about what they're doing to it, but hopefully they do okay with it. That's a tough question. Put me on the spot for. What's yours?
Mhm. Well, it was Splash Mountain, so they've already.
Mm.
Yeah, the damage is done. She's gone.
I went to LA on the last day that Splash Mountain was going to be open because it had already closed down in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And on my very last ride, it broke my phone because it got so soaked. It soaked my shoes so much, and I had a flight the next morning that I put my shoes like next to the fireplace in my hotel. Burned my shoes. So I had to like go buy flip-flops and a new phone right before my flight. And I was like, Splash Mountain. The very last thing it did was ruin my day the next day, but I still love it.
Well, that's right in line with what was the story.
Yeah.
Back to that was my favorite part. Is it was such dark humor.
Yeah.
Just all these animatronics laughing at you, and I mean it's in and of itself, it's this sweet, happy-go-lucky songs and all this stuff going on, but again with the overall narrative, just we're gonna throw you over this big cliff here in a second. You're gonna get drenched, and then
my issue
laughing at you.
with the Tiana's version of it is there's no story progression at all. Like in Splash Mountain, you start out in a kind of it's a chase scene, but it's normal world. It's happy. And then you go down into the laughing place, and it's like a fever dream. And then you're getting laughed at by these vultures as you come up, and you're coming out of it. And then when you go down the hill, it's a big celebration. You made it out of the laughing place. And it's like, okay, there's like a clear structure to this. Whereas Tiana's is just like, we need to find all these musicians so we can have a party. And then throughout it, like you add one musician, two musicians. By the end, like everyone's doing this big party, but there's no like hitting rock bottom and coming back up, which I think the format of the ride is so perfect for. So yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah, no, it's a 3-act structure type of thing. Yeah, but the Tiana doesn't give you any of that. I agree.
Yeah. You got Blake, are you a park fan?
My favorite ride is the People Mover.
Good. I mentioned my buddy Jacob, who I would go to the parks with all the time. He always pitched there should be People Mover Day where you can sit on it as long as you want, and you're allowed to bring a drink, and you can just sit on it. You buy a ticket specifically for People Mover Day, and you can just go around the People Mover, drink. I think that's a great idea. What's your favorite ride?
I just Splash Mountain. That was pretty fun. I think terrifying ride, the Rattler in San Antonio.
So good.
Yeah, I think part of it being all wooden.
Yeah, it
was really rough. And then toward the end of its life, before they went to Iron Rattler, I legitimately, every single time I went on there, I was like, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And that, the physical like rotting of the wood, it was like.
I never did it before it was iron.
Oh, you never did the wooden? It was the first all wooden roller coaster.
So sick. Oh. It's in a quarry for those that don't know. So like you go up the wall of the quarry and then through tunnels in the quarry. It's so sick. That is a great ride.
It's probably one of my favorites.
It's cool that it's local too. Just drive an hour and go do the Iron Rattler.
Yeah, I went to the Iron one afterwards. I was like, this is so smooth. I have no fear for my life.
But you can go. I mean, I'm sure when it was wooden, there wasn't like upside down and stuff.
I think there was.
Really?
Yeah. Well, maybe not. No, there's just one big drop.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago, so like.
Yeah.
Maybe my brain's fusing. Superman was pretty good.
Superman's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, the Six Flags rides are fun, thrilling rides, but they don't immerse you.
They don't. They tried to do the Superman, like the VR headset. That was my actually first time I've ever used VR, and I absolutely hated it.
Yeah.
I think they used it maybe I don't even think they even did it for a whole year. But if you did the ride, I did the ride first because the VR headsets weren't working. And I was like, this is amazing. And then you do it afterwards, and you feel the physics, but like because it was so early on, you couldn't, the physics in the screen did not match what you were feeling.
Yeah.
And it was a complete it was horrible.
I think that we need to convince Six Flags to hire us to make that San Antonio park better, because it's such a cool park. Because again, the whole thing's inside the quarry, but it's just thrill rides, and there's like one dark ride. It's so bad.
Yep.
But if you got guys like us on that, we'd make it so sick.
We need to start with Sootabon first.
They have
though.
a log flume.
Yeah,
they do.
Yeah, we interviewed somebody building a robotic tail, and I was like, every single time we talk, I'm like, Winston, let's put this thing on the jungle ride. Yeah,
it'd be so sick. The beer hall too in the Germany section of that Six Flags.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty sick too. You got like Oktoberfest bands that go in there and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun, but it needs work.
Yep.
And we can do it.
Yeah.
So
So
whoever's-
Six Flags, hit us up.
yeah, please. I would leave everything I'm doing right now to be in some sort of creative leadership position at a theme park. It'd be so fun.
Mm-hmm.
So fun.
Yeah, I have one of my friends. He's in a robotic company right now in town. He was at Universal Studios before building, theme parks and doing the robotic stuff. And he called me up. He was like, "Hey, Joel, I have this offer. They're going to pay me like almost twice as much. I'm going to be working, regular 40, 50-hour weeks instead of 80-hour weeks. And then, health benefits, all this stuff." Like, it was like, and why are you calling me? He was like, "I don't get to build rides anymore." I was like, "I don't know how to weigh this. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care about the money. I don't care about all this like work-life balance. It's like the rides, but I
Yeah.
just can't, this opportunity happened." I was like, "Oh, that's a tough one because like you literally found your passion." I was like, "Well, can you go back?" And he was like, "Yeah, I can go back." I was like, "Okay, well, maybe you can, you can take double the money for now and pad your savings account and then go back later." But yeah, he's going to go back later.
Yeah.
But it was amazing hearing somebody like choosing something so difficult over there and having a difficult time, deciding to walk away. So yeah, after that conversation, I have been very inspired. Like, oh, there has to be something about telling immersive, stories and working on this thing and thinking deeply about how people experience the world and
It's
experience like that.
yeah, like Walt's whole philosophy on building the park is just so cool too. And when it works, because I mean they're primarily theme parks before Disney, and it still is, but primarily for children. But then the idea of just like this should be as fun or more fun for the parents bringing them as it is for the kid is also what makes a great animated movie, or any movie for that matter. So just fun for the whole family.
And we were talking about the next great stories like that are going to be coming out of like more of the physical 3-dimensional stories and technology here. So we were worried about bringing those characters from called Bluey or Moana or whatever that into more of a 3-dimensional immersive environment. And I think the argument is no, we're going to tell new stories. We're going to go to new planets, new places, tell stories like they've never been told before, where you're part of it, but in all the best ways.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I believe in that pitch.
Yep.
Very cool.
Cool. We've been practicing it. I think this is episode 8.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm going to get my pitch down really, really well.
There you go.
Every week I practice it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for joining
100%,
the
man.
podcast. And
Super fun conversations.
we'll definitely have you back over to talk about tech demos and, maybe the next theme park we start building. But yeah, any closing thoughts, Corey?
I don't believe so. Yeah, just echo your sentiment there. Yeah, thank you for coming. This is a hoot. It's been a while
fun.
since I've seen you.
Yeah.
So.
I love it. I love talking about this stuff. I love what you guys are about, what you're doing in both avenues, robotics, film, all of it. It's just, it's a cool future if we let it be. And we need people fighting for the cool version of the future as opposed to what human greed and things like that can lead to. So
absolutely.
Well, Joel, you want to give the little closing spiel? You got that memorized at this point.
Closing pitch is if you are a capital allocator, you're an investor, if you are a tech startup, if you are somebody looking to get in the space or just research students, please join the New Arc family and send us your contact information. We'll keep everybody informed of what we're doing and love to blend you in on the future of projects we're going to be involved with, and hope to show you off what Nate's doing in the future too. But yeah, just contact us. We'd love to have you in the network.
Or if you have any power at Six Flags and want to make a really cool addition to your park.
Yeah, thank you. That's very, very important there.
Yeah, we're going to use targeted ads for that one very specific person.
Yeah.
It'll be all their feed is.
Whoever that is.
Okay. Yeah, works for me. Works for me. Sweet.
Cool. Well, signing off.
Adios.